and share my screen. All right, so once again, welcome to our information night. I'm going to pass it over to Jennifer.
Okay, so if you have any questions tonight, we really want you guys to ask us. That's what we're here for. So whether that's if you want to answer or ask questions in the chat, or if you would like to turn on your mic and ask them, we'll have specific designated sections where it's kind of like an FAQ, or we'll open up the floor to questions and you can ask them either way. There are no bad questions. Anything that you want to ask, please, this is the moment to do so. Tonight, we're going to go over our history and mission, the curriculum of the programs that we offer. We'll also discuss payments and talk about some of our fundraising and different costs of the program as well. And then we'll do health and safety. And then lastly, we'll have that kind of really open floor Q&A where you can ask anything you want after you've heard all of the information.
So to start us off, I want to start a little bit about what is Global Visionaries. So Global Visionaries is a 501c3 nonprofit organization incorporated in the state of Washington since 2002. We are not religiously affiliated. The organization is pretty small. We have 6 employees, but we have a lot of interns and volunteers from the community that come and help us to, like make sure like everything is happening on time and we have a smooth operation. One of the employees is in Guatemala. His name is Aurelio Hernandez. That it wasn't able to be here tonight, but he is in charge to making sure like the homestay families get on board and hire the staff in Guatemala when the trips goes down there. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that down the road. But something that I want to point out and say I already start like talking about it is we believe that Global Visionaries is pretty unique because we have youth at every single level of the organization. Our main goal is to actually be a youth-led organization, and we have youth at the board level with full rights, voting rights, like any other board member. As you heard tonight here, also we have junior leaders that will travel back to Guatemala. Again, I'm going to be in charge to deliver the program and guide the participants in their journey through the program. And also we have pro-justice leadership that they do run workshops about pro-justice locally here in Guatemala. Also, we are trying to make the organization as diverse as possible. So 50% of our students are students of participants of color, and the other 50% are white participants. And also, we wanted to make this experience available to anybody, and we are striving to have 50% of the participants being part of our financial program. Can we go to the next slide, please? And I'm going to ask Sea if you want to help me with this, Sea.
So there's a saying that you might often hear that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but as Mario just stated, we believe leaders of today. We have youth at every level of the organization, and our mission is empowering young people to become global leaders in creating a just and sustainable future. This really speaks to me about Global Visionaries, especially as how they try and strive to be a youth-led organization. And another thing that just like I really value about Global Visionaries is our mission, which is really embodied by a simple quote by an Aboriginal activist, Lola Watson. And I'm just going to read that out here, and then I'm just going to explain more after that. So here it is. If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you understand that your liberation is tied to mine, let's work together. This truly embodies GV's mission, and our purpose is because we're not going down to Guatemala to be essentially helping, which would imply that we're better in some sort of way. We work together. Our liberation is tied to the municipality workers, to the Guatemalan youth down there. We all work together. We don't decide what we're working on there. We don't decide like the school that we're going to help work together to help build, and we don't decide any of the tasks we do there. We work together with the Guatemalan youth, the municipality workers, and the GV staff to decide what we can work alongside them with, and that's something that I truly value about Global Visionaries. Especially we strive to undo the effects of U.S. imperialism, not just in the global South, third world countries, but yeah, especially, but most importantly in Guatemala, we strive to do the impacts of U.S. imperialism there as well.
So these are the pictures of our staff. You can see there, like in the upper left corner of your screen, that's me. That picture was taken many, many years ago. Then we have Aurelio Hernandez, Jennifer Yalos, Carla Verdugo Ortega that wasn't able to be here, Cassidy Nelson that you guys already met, and Mason Tapper, that is our ALP manager. Something that I want to talk to is we also get a lot of volunteers, and most of the volunteers that travel with us as trip leaders or chaperones are public school teachers, either high school, middle school, or elementary school teachers. The other people that join the program, they are in the medical field, either nurses or doctors sometimes, and also alumni that have gone to the program also join as trip chaperones as well. And occasionally we get parents of participants that have traveled the year before when they are in the LP to be joining us as chaperones as well. So for Guatemala, Aurelio is the one that actually recruit the homestay families. All the homestay families, we've been working with them for about I would say like 10 years now in the town that we are. The town name is San Miguel Escobar, and it's outside of Antigua, Guatemala. We do, everyone that is 18 years and older gotta get a background check that's required by our insurance here. There is a application that they gotta fill in, and they gotta submit letters of recommendations from the community that talk about the character of the family as well. And at the end of every program, we pass a survey to the participants, and we ask questions about how welcome you feel with your homestay, were you included in the meals? So we asked a lot of questions about that. What was the experience with the homestay? Just to make sure like the standards that the homestay have for our participants are at a highest level as well. Also, we require background checks for the bus drivers that we hire and any other third-party organization that we contracted in Guatemala as well. Can we go to the next one, please?
Yes. All right, so now I'm just going to give an overview of our two core programs this year. We have our Guatemalan Cultural Immersion Program. This is where students travel to Guatemala and stay with a host family for 14 days. Throughout the experience, students have one-on-one Spanish lessons. We'll talk more about what that experience is like in a little bit. And students earn service hours through working on a variety of different types of community service projects. You earn 32 hours of community service throughout the immersion. And we also work alongside Guatemalan youth participants. So something I don't think has been mentioned yet, but in Guatemala, we also have a sister program, which is working with high school students in San Miguel Escobar, the community that we work with. And they are leading that program throughout the year. And we are leading our program here in Seattle. Both programs are focused on social and environmental justice in the context of that community, right? And what's relevant for those students there. And we get to bring the two groups together for the cultural immersion, which is a really special experience because we're working on those service projects truly side by side with those Guatemalan youth participants. And so you really get a chance to get to know someone your same age living a very different reality. And we also do some fun cultural excursions. We visit Mayan ruins and learn a bit about Mayan history. We take a trip to Antigua, which is a very historic city. And we learn some salsa dancing, some bachata, some merengue, and that's always a highlight of the experience as well. So we'll go more into depth about this program, and you'll hear from all of our amazing students here about what the experience was like for them. But our second program is our Pro Justice Leadership Program, which is an entirely local program. So that's not a travel-based program. It's based here in Seattle, but has similar components. So you still get to connect with globally minded youth from around the Seattle area, students from other schools that you might not otherwise interact with. You still take one-on-one Spanish lessons, but these lessons are virtual via Zoom like this. You're paired with a Spanish teacher, and you can take up to 15 hours of one-on-one hour-long lessons with the teacher. And those are the same teachers that we work with when we travel to Guatemala. So if you were to do both programs, we could try to pair you with that same teacher. So you can really build on that relationship, which they tend to be really special experiences because you really do get to know your teacher quite intimately. You also will have virtual meetups. We assign pen pals with those Guatemalan youth participants in the sister program. So you still get that cultural exchange experience of connecting with them, but it's via WhatsApp and Zoom versus in person. And we do local service projects here in the Seattle area. We do some park restoration work. We work at a few urban farms in the area. So you can still earn service hours and get that hands-on experience locally as well. And finally, you'll have monthly social justice workshops centered on local and global issues. And all of those workshops are led by our youth participants who have already participated in the program and are coming back to continue their leadership journey and facilitate those workshops, which I think is a really special form of peer learning. And this bottom piece here is just saying that if you choose to, you can bundle both programs. And what that would look like is participating in the Pro Justice Leadership Program during the winter, and then traveling with us in the spring or summer. All right, so a little bit more about our Pro Justice Leadership Program. So it's a 14-week program. It's about 3 months, so it goes from December 16th to March 13th. And to give you a sense of the breakdown of the timeline, each month you'll have a social justice workshop, volunteer opportunities, your weekly Spanish lessons, and those can be scheduled on your own time, on your own schedule. And you'll be connecting with your pen pal. And at the end, we'll have a virtual meetup with all of the Guatemalan youth participants and US youth participants. All right, now we're going to talk more in depth about the cultural immersion program, and I'm going to stop talking since I've been talking a lot. So maybe could we hear from one of our students about like what does a day in the life look like when we're in Guatemala, when we're on the immersion?
Yeah, so a regular day in the life for most students is usually around a 6:30 a.m. wake up, where the students, it sounds early, but in reality, you get used to it. So a 6:30 a.m. wake up, and then usually breakfast with the family, followed by all the groups go and meet at the town center, where each group goes off and does their respective work for the day. And so usually the students work for about 3 hours from 9 a.m. to 12. And then everybody takes a bus back to their homestay houses for lunch. And then after lunch, usually there's a siesta time. So students have the opportunity to relax for about an hour, read, take a nap, whatever they feel like doing. After that, it's usually Spanish lessons in the afternoon, where each student has the opportunity to have like a 2.5 hour long lesson with a private teacher. And then after that, it depends a lot on the respective day, but there can be things like salsa lessons, reflection circles, things of that nature after that. And then the students will all go home for dinner, and then lights out usually around 9:30 or 10 p.m.
Awesome, thank you, Henry. Could someone share what their experience was like with their homestay family?
Yeah, so I had a really great experience with my host family. It's like not like something you can kind of have otherwise. So Global Visionaries is like a good opportunity for something like this, because it's like you learn more about their culture because of that. Like my homestay family, they were super excited to learn some English words, and they also taught me like Guatemalan slang, because there's different like variations of Spanish throughout like South America and Latin America. So each country and little area kind of has like unique words. So learning the kind of like the Guatemalan words was really cool. And then I had there were three like older teenagers, young 20s. So three kids that they had who were all super sweet. And we played like cards with them and talked with them, gossiped with them. My homestay mom, she was super sweet. She cooked like all day long, I guess, because she always had food ready for us when we came home. And the food is so good. I'm very excited to go back and have it again. But so one of the things I really liked was I would write down the recipes because she already had the food like ready for us. So she'd write down the recipe. And then there was one day where I made some food with her, and that was just like one-on-one bonding. It was super fun. I just talked with her, talked about the US, she talked about Guatemala. It was just like our lives. So that was definitely my favorite part of the trip. And yeah, it's a very pretty house too. So very fun.
Thank you, Rachel. What about the Spanish lessons? What was that experience like?
Spanish lessons for me, I was able to make a really good connection with my teacher during Spanish lessons, depending on your level of Spanish, of course, are mostly done while speaking Spanish. And with my Spanish teacher, I essentially got to have like a conversation with her, and she was able to kind of fill in the gaps of English words that I didn't know or things like that. And 2.5 hours, it may seem like a long time, but it goes by really fast. Like you're genuinely like you get to sit there and you get to have a conversation and really get to know someone. And I got to know my Spanish teacher really well. She talked to me about her family, and then also I got to learn about sort of like the politics in Guatemala and the history of Guatemala further, which I also think was really important. And my Spanish teacher, she was a huge help, especially for homestay families. She gave me a lot of guidance, and like while you're speaking Spanish that often, you're able to comprehend it really, really quickly. So that was a lot of help for helping me also connect with other parts of the program.
Thank you so much, Isis. Okay, what about like some of the other things we did while we were there, like some of the excursions we went on? Sophie, do you want to talk about, or Rachel, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so you're there for 2 weeks, and you do all the different work teams and work sites during the week, and your Spanish lessons are during the week. And then we go to Antigua, and we kind of walk through from this like overlook the forest park down into the city, and you can like walk around and see like the architecture. And it's very different from San Miguel Escobar, and so it's like cool to just see the different parts of Guatemala. And then we also went to the Mayan ruins, which are called Ixinche, and it's like about an hour and a half from San Miguel Escobar, and we learned about like the history, and we walked through and like just see all the ruins. And it was cool because you like learn about the history and like the story before, and then you kind of like are able to just like see the history, if that makes sense. And there's also like a Mayan sacred like ritual, so we had to be like silent for that, but that was also really interesting to be able to watch and like observe that and have like a little piece of the culture as well.
Thank you, Rachel. And what about salsa lessons? Sophie, do you want to share your experience with that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think salsa lessons were one of the things that I was most excited for. And I had so much fun. I was smiling the entire time, and so was everybody else. It kind of works, and so there's two lines and you rotate, so you get to dance with everybody. And so some of the people that were more soft spoken, where you didn't know very well, like you go up to them and you start dancing and you're both smiling. And it's just like a really good way to get to know people more. And you dance with some of the Guatemalan youth there as well. And I just had the most fun. It was such a great experience. So yeah, it was just one of the highlights of my trip.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Now we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the different work teams. So this is our community service work that we do over there. As I mentioned, you earn 32 hours of community service throughout the immersion, and we cycle through 3 of these work teams. So you'll get a chance to experience 3 of these 4, and that depends on season. So we typically do coffee farming in the spring because that's when coffee harvest time is. So you can actually see in this picture down in the bottom right corner, those are coffee cerezas or coffee cherries. So they're actually picking them in that photo. And then we usually do reforestation in the summer months, although sometimes that shifts as well. Can I have some volunteers to share about each of these work teams? So starting with construction.
So for construction, we're in an indigenous village where there's an elementary school, and when I went last year, we were working on clearing out the space for the floor of one of the classrooms and pouring the concrete. And this year, hopefully, we'll be adding the roof, so kind of seeing the finished classroom. And we work alongside 2 construction workers from Guatemala. They're super nice. We learn about kind of the process of what construction looks like. And that was definitely my favorite of the work sites, because while we're there, the elementary school kids have recess. So we're there for 3 hours, and there's kind of the different grades of recess, and they're super excited, running around, very energetic. So that was very fun because we got to talk to them. We played soccer with them. Super sweet. They asked us how to count to 100 in English, and kind of how to say some words, and we're just talking to us. And that was definitely very memorable, because when I went back the second day that we were there, they're oh, hi, and they remembered our names and stuff. So that was just a lot of fun, because you get to connect with them in a language that you've been learning. So very memorable. But yeah, we're working on elementary school, and lots of fun.
What about community hospital?
Yeah, so the community hospital is a long-term care facility. And so there's a lot of patients there that have cerebral palsy. And I think out of all the work sites, this was the most impactful for me, just because there's so many people there that that hospital is their life, and they're always there. And so you have a couple jobs, which could be taking the patients for walks, or helping them to feed or something like that. But the most important thing is trying to make connections with people and make them happy. And I really got to do that for a few women, and it made me happy just to see them laugh and see them smile. There was one woman, her name was Isabella, and she was an English teacher, so she knew English, and so we got to connect more that way. And we danced with her, and she told us about her life, and you just meet so many incredible people, and it's just such a good experience. But it also makes you appreciate what you have and what your life is, just seeing these people who can't do what they love anymore. So that was just really impactful for me, and I think it's a really good thing to be able to do.
Thanks for sharing that, Sophie. All right, what about reforestation?
Yeah, so in terms of reforestation, my first year that I was with GV, we went on this, or reforestation took place up on this mountain, or not mountain, but hill. And so it was a beautiful hike to reach the area where we were actually doing the reforestation. And that was probably the highlight of that service project. But there we were using machetes to cut down weeds and trees that didn't belong there. We were also, planting crops, basically following the directions of the workers that were working on the farm. And then this past year, we did reforestation for Don Beto, who is a local coffee farmer. And so we went to one of his properties, and we were just working on clearing the land so that he could begin planting coffee in the upcoming year. So it's one of the more physically demanding projects, but it's really fun, and it just the atmosphere there and just the natural beauty that you're with. It's really memorable.
Thank you, Henry. And coffee farming?
Yeah, coffee farming for me, it was the last construction site I worked on. And it was a really great way that I found to connect with both my work team and then the coffee farmer, Don Alberto. And he, for the last day, on my second day of working at the coffee farm, I was able to have like a conversation with him and like really get to know him. And I think that that was really impactful and important to like learn about his life and learn about like, I guess, just learn about who he is, and something that with if I hadn't gone on this trip, I wouldn't have that experience at all, and like seeing like different perspectives, I guess. And then I didn't go in the spring, so we were doing kind of more sort of reforestation. We were removing like dead weeds and things like that. But we got to go on the second day on this really pretty hike up to where we were doing the work. And then on the first day, we got to ride in trucks there, and that was a lot of fun. And I just found like it was a really, really amazing way to sort of like connect and work. And it is physically demanding, but it doesn't really feel like, I guess, physical labor. It's more just fun, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you, Isis. All right, and I'm going to encourage you to keep sending questions in the chat. I see one here. How are jobs determined and delegated to students? If you mean at the work sites, it's really a collaborative effort. We are there with, at construction, we're led by some construction workers and our colleague Aurelio. At the hospital, we're always following the lead of the hospital workers and doing tasks that they're assigning us, of course, based on comfort and ability of the students always. And same thing wherever we go, right? Reforestation, we work with municipal workers and they're telling us what we need to do. And everybody's roughly doing the same, project. Okay, I see. So you mean community hospital versus farming. So we rotate through them. So everybody gets a chance to do 3 of these projects for 2 days each. We cycle through. So everyone gets a taste of each of them. The only ones that change are reforestation and farming, and that's seasonal.
I see a larger question as well in here. One part is about the phone use policy. So our phone use policy, I mean, we have trip leaders that have phones with them. So they're always going to have a phone with them, and we give you their phone numbers. You also have the phone numbers of all of the staff, staff in Guatemala, staff in the US, even our board members, you have their phone numbers. So we're also texting you. So the staff members there send out texts maybe several times a day, especially on travel days, like, oh, we're at the plane, we're here, we're there, just letting you know what's going on. So that way you're always kind of in communication, and you can text back to that number if you have a question and somebody can answer you right away. So the phone use policy for the students specifically, not to have their phone there so that they can kind of really be immersed in the program, because phones are kind of a distraction. I'm not sure if a student already talked about it, but if they want to talk about further about their experience not having their phone.
Yeah, so of course, like one of the things that was kind of a concern is not having your phone, just because we're so dependent on it nowadays. But I went for it anyways, and it actually was really good for me. You do have like so much more fun, and you get to know people so much better when you just have your phone to like as a safety net to like look back on. And I noticed when we went back to Seattle and we had our phones, like I was talking with my friends from Guatemala, and we like didn't have the same conversations because people were on their phones more. And it's like I just felt so much happier being away from that. So it's just like it makes you like change your perspective on that. So
Yes, thank you. So I think it's a really good experience for a lot of the students not having their phone. And you're so busy throughout the day. It just kind of gives you more time to connect with your homestay family when you're back at your homestay. And so it just feels like a better way for students to engage in the program, and the no technology really just kind of makes it that much more immersive. But we are in constant contact with the families, and you would have our numbers and all of those things. So there is still communication there. We still have our phones, and there is that level of safety as well.
And can I add something, Jennifer, on that? I noticed when we do a presentation, so we talk about not having cell phone, it is immediately the first thing that you start seeing all the students getting very anxious about not having their phone. But it's like it's a break from, like social media and all the things that are happening. So and as Jennifer was saying, it's not a distraction, so the students can be present on that. And I can answer the next question, Jennifer, about the proximity of the homestays. So San Miguel Escobar, that is our house town, is small. So we are in a walking distance from all the houses. So we, the trip leaders, we stay with Aurelio Hernandez. That's kind of like our home base. And from there, we walk through all the different houses to get the participants, and then we meet in the plaza. I will say like the most that we walk from distance is like 10 blocks. And that will be like, like from the farthest house to where the closer house to the escuela is about 10 blocks from that. So I just you mentioned that. And again, the name of the host town is San Miguel Escobar, and it's about 15 minutes outside of Antigua, Guatemala. So you want to Google where we are at, Google Antigua, Guatemala, and 15 minutes by car and with traffic is where our host town is located at. Sorry, you want to say something, Jennifer?
Yeah, I was just going to say for the next one, though, what % of the cost does fundraising cover? So we're going to talk about the fundraising in a little bit, so I can go over that in more detail once we get to that part, because it's really kind of varies a little bit, and we can talk about student experience for that. And then I see we have some questions about the spring or summer, and I think we're about to review the timeline as well pretty soon. And then for the size of the group and adult to student ratios, so the groups are usually in total around 45 individuals, sometimes less, ranging between 35 and 45, depending on enrollment of students versus trip leaders traveling, and also junior leaders who are our advanced leadership program participants going. So it really depends on that amount, but we tend not to exceed that much. And within that like 45 amount is the trip leaders. We usually have 6-to-1 adult to student ratio, so 6 students per 1 adult. And then once we get to Guatemala, our Aurelio and then some of our temporary Guatemalan staff that works for the immersions increases that ratio even further, or smaller.
And I've just put the map on screen here. Mario, do you want to talk more about?
Yeah, so we fly into Guatemala City, and then from Guatemala City we take a shuttle, a private shuttle to Antigua, Guatemala and San Miguel Escobar. On the way out from Guatemala City, we stop at the city dump, so the participants can actually see where the trash goes in places like Guatemala, and have a conversation about, like, just because we're putting the trash in a trash can, the trash doesn't disappear. In places like Guatemala, ended up in a ravine, and anyway, it's different than here. But in here also the trash doesn't disappear. It goes to a landfill or goes to another state. I don't even know where the trash from Seattle goes, but it doesn't disappear. So from there we go to Antigua, Guatemala. That is about, I will say, with traffic is between like 1.5 hours to 2 hours, depending on traffic. That is the main city that we are at. Antigua, Guatemala is beautiful. It has a lot of colonial Spaniard influence. There are many people from around the world that lives there, and I can tell you right now, as beautiful as it is not like Guatemala. But if you travel 15 minutes, 10 minutes outside of Antigua, like San Miguel Escobar or some other villages around, you have that sense of community and village that I know that I grew up with in Guatemala. In the mornings, you will see people that goes to work to Antigua. They work in the tourist industry, hotels or restaurants, and also the main schools are in that area. But you also see people that are going to work in the coffee fields. You will see people making tortillas in the street. So it does have that uniqueness. It is. The people is super friendly. I'm pretty sure that you probably heard this, that everywhere you go, like people, it's super friendly. But in this case, it's for real. You will walking in the street and you will be greeting every single block. Every single block that you walk in there is someone like, buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? Hi, how are you? And, you know, like, it is nice to have that. I miss that part about Guatemala that I don't see here in Seattle. Like, as a fun fact, when I came here the first time, I was doing that in the street here, and people probably thought that I was the biggest weirdo ever because I was smiling and saying hello to everybody. Anyway, so that's where we are. And it's about 5,000 feet above the sea level. So think about it more like a Denver, the city of Denver altitude. So it's outside of the malaria area. So I'm telling you this because one of the questions that we get is, you know, like, how are the mosquitoes? So there are some mosquitoes in the area, but this is outside of the malaria zone. At night, it cools down. So during the day, even if it gets hot, I would say like 80 and humid, at the night, it can cool down. It has like the mountain effect at that point. So we recommend to bring like a little poncho or like a little fleece to be able to, you know, like be warm at night as well. Does the participants wanted to talk a little bit more about like San Miguel Escobar and something that I missed about the homestays or the houses? Anyone?
Adding on, I know somebody talked about like the experience with your families and like the people there, but also you have a roommate in Guatemala and you become such close friends with your roommate. And so like that's a person that you're doing all of this with. And so like every new experience that could be a little bit like scary at first because it's something new, like you have somebody to do it with. So it kind of takes away all your fears and it's like it's so like such a good experience. You're so happy the whole time in the homestay just because like everything is just so vibrant and colorful. It's just like a really lovely time there. So yeah.
And it's at least one other roommate and no more than 3. Because the more people we put in houses, we realize that the more English they speak and the less Spanish they practice. And as much as we can, we try to pair the person that had the highest Spanish level with the one that has the lowest Spanish level. So there is at least someone that can be helped communicate and translate for the other students in the house. Something else that I'm missing, Cassidy or Jennifer?
No, I think Sophie and Jennifer did a great job of chiming in here. Yeah, everybody's in the same boat, right? So that helps it be a bonding experience too, because everybody is experiencing this for the first time. So you get to work with each other to go through the challenges of getting to know each other. All right, I'm going to go back and touch on the dates quickly. So I know we had a question about the different cohorts. So this year we have 3 different cohorts. We have one traveling in spring, which travels over Seattle Public Schools spring break and the week following. So with this cohort, you would miss a week of school that you would have to speak to your teachers about and get excused those absences. However, teachers do tend to be pretty understanding because this is a learning experience, not a vacation, right? But you will still have to have those conversations ahead of time. And then we have 2 cohorts that are traveling over the summer, one in the early summer and one a little bit later in the summer. So you would rank your preferences for which cohort you'd like to travel with on your application. And that's how we would assign your cohort. All right, so I'm going to skip to the summer immersion timeline, but both of these are pretty similar. This is what the year looks like for the program. So applications are due very soon at the end of October 30th. That's when you'll need to have all of your application materials turned in. Then we let you know about acceptance on November 3rd. And we'll have an orientation the following week That's a mandatory orientation meeting with both parents and guardians and participants. And that really lays out the year ahead. We talk about important dates, we talk about fundraising, and we talk about what you need to do to prepare for the year ahead. Then you might begin fundraising. We encourage everybody to fundraise. We'll talk more about what that can look like. But we have a fundraising workshop also to help you identify your community and start fundraising. And we can help you and support you with your fundraising plan throughout the year. And then closer to the immersion, usually about 2 weeks before, we have a pre-departure meeting. And this is a big meeting with all of your cohorts. You get a chance to meet your roommates, see who you'll be staying with. You'll get a packing list and you'll start to really prepare for what's ahead. And then we travel together to Guatemala for 2 weeks. And then when we get back to Seattle, we have a re-entry reunion and storytelling event where students share their experiences with their community, invite your friends, family. It's a really special way to round out the program. Excuse me. And then finally, if you choose to, after the program is finished, students have the opportunity to continue on with their leadership journey as an advanced leader and join our ALP program, which all of our amazing students that are here tonight are doing. All right, so just to recap what we've been talking about, this is sort of a summary of the programs at large. So the Cultural Immersion Program, again, is 2 weeks of cultural and Spanish language immersion. There's also 15 hours of one-on-one Spanish lessons in person, and you earn 32 hours of community service. And then our Pro Justice Leadership Program, again, that's the local program based here in Seattle. You earn 15 hours of virtual one-on-one Spanish lessons. And you have those virtual meetups on WhatsApp and Zoom with your Guatemalan peers. And you can earn between 12 and 24 hours of community service locally here in Seattle. All right. I see we have some questions. Did anything we missed?
Yeah, the question is, I think, about fundraising. So you haven't missed the fundraising section. So we're gonna be talking about the fundraising a little bit down the road. So we're gonna get there.
All right, great. So the plan is we'll watch this quick video. It's about 3 minutes long, and then we'll come back together, take a short break, have more time for questions, and then we'll go more into depth into health and safety and fundraising, program fees, all of that. So if I can just get someone to give me a thumbs up to make sure the audio works when I hit play.
In every aspect of your life, you can be a leader.
Wow.
It's the people closest to you.
Yes? Oh, I can't hear it. Okay. Well, if you can hear it, that's what matters.
In every aspect of your life, you can be a leader. It's the people closest to you, I think, that have the biggest impact on your own actions.
The leadership skills that you learn through GV help not only from a personal aspect, but it really just motivates you to grow as an individual.
GV is part of a multi-year program, so students actually get to lead each other and not just be led by adults, and really build their leadership skills for up to 4 years of their high school experience.
What GV does really well is it provides youth leaders with the skills and experiences to become more inclusive and empathetic leaders. Those skills that we admire in others, those are the types of experiences that they get every time they're involved in GV.
Having been involved in the program as a high school student for almost my entire high school career, it's amazing to now have the opportunity to really put into practice the ideas, the thoughts, the perspectives that I developed while a student.
My experience in the first year program really helped me to be able to speak publicly and in front of groups. It felt a lot easier for me to contribute to discussions because it was pretty much just a discussion between me and people that were my age.
all the curriculum is delivered by former participants of the first year program. They are part of the Advanced Leadership Program.
The Advanced Leadership Program was an opportunity for me to be able to find my own words and my own way to articulate and have these conversations around social justice concepts and around like the current political and social climate of the world.
The Pro Justice Group gets the opportunity to teach the first year participants about social justice. And so when I was a first year, they came in and were taught by our peers, which I think is really helpful because it doesn't feel like someone's talking down to you because they've kind of gone through the same thing.
For the first hour of a pro-justice meeting, we might have a conversation around classism or capitalism,
US imperialism, the chart of oppression,
conversations about solidarity, about allyship.
Picking apart those concepts and fully unpacking them in a space that felt safe and inviting for people, and with staff and students that felt like they really wanted to be there and they were there to support you through that learning process is something that's really powerful and I think is pretty unique to Global Visionaries.
Coming back from Guatemala and continuing through ALP and continuing GV through the leadership skills and other skills that I gained, I have been more willing to stand up for myself, stand up for things that I believe in, and I've been motivated to be more involved in my community.
Even if you're not particularly interested in social justice, or you're not interested in the travel component of the program, even if that's not your primary objective and wanting to join, I'd say join so that you can better understand the world that you live in, and you can better understand yourself as a member of that world.
All right.
So I think that there was a question about Guatemala particularly, and I think that this is exactly when we want to talk about this. So I'm going to start by saying, safety is our #1 priority. Actually, part of the application, we ask every parent to go and read what the State Department website travel advisory is for Guatemala, and I'm going to warn you, the things that they said about my country are not great. But also think about what if there is an equivalent of State Department in some other places, what it tells you to travel to places in the United States, like Baltimore, Chicago, or even places here in Seattle. I've been living here for almost 15 years now, and I know that there are places that I cannot go out by myself at night. So how we mitigate risk? We actually do smart traveling. We are always together. We travel in big groups. None of the participants can actually go out at night. The homestays have an orientation before the participants arrive, and they got a download of a refreshment of all the rules, and they are the first one that reinforce the rules. We also enroll in a program by the State Department that is called STEPS, that it will notify us, or it keep notifying us about any situation that might happen in Guatemala at large. Politically speaking, Guatemala is, actually, this is not true. Every time that we have an election, things get unstable, like what happened here in the United States in January 6th. Not at that level. I'm just going to put it out there. Not at the level of January 6th here. But all the pressure is in Guatemala City, around the government, the palace of the governments, or any other government buildings like the Supreme Court in Guatemala. That's where the big protest is happening. In places like Antigua, Guatemala, it is different. Also, border towns are receive a lot of pressure by migrants or people trying to move back and forth. So those are the areas that you will read. They have the most situations happening in the country as well. But again, in places like Antigua is far away from the pressure on that, and people are more worried about working, making sure their kids are going to school, and being, I guess, more into what they're gonna do next, or how the plantation of coffee is doing on that level. Also, I wanna talk a little bit about insurance. We do have our insurance as organizations have liability and coverage in Guatemala. Also, we have a board of director insurance that will kick in if needed. And the last one, we purchase a travel insurance that will it will cover even an evacuation if it's happening at that time as well. I'm missing something here on the insurance, Jennifer?
Yes, so I think you already covered, we have our like actual general liability insurance for our organization domestically and internationally. And then we also purchase individual travel trip insurance for every single person who is on the immersion. So that covers medical care, emergency evacuation, all of those types of things. So those are really important for us to have. And it also covers, like, if you get sick, you know, and you need to seek medical care at a hospital, that insurance will cover that while any person who is on our trip is abroad.
We also hire the tourist police. Tourists is one of the biggest industries for Guatemala, even coffee. So there is a branch of the police that is dedicated to actually take care of any tourists around. It is not required, and I know that many organizations that they don't do that, but again, we don't want to leave anything to a chance. So everywhere we go, we will have a police detail that is following. We actually talk to the participants right before we're going to leave that we're going to have police around us all the time. And that's probably something that you don't see here. And, you know, like, just they're there for our protection and our safety as well. The other things that we do as well, it is we work with the locals. So Aurelio Hernandez hired the people in the town. We have a relationship with the homestay families. They know of us. They know that, you know, like, we go there every year. We provide some sort of like income to those families. So they actually, you know, we have that relationship that is beneficial for both of us. And I think that that's very important because it's not just like a group of foreigners that don't have any connection to the town that just drop one day. It's not like that. So there is a lot of things that organically has happening over the last 20 years that we have this connection with the people in the town as well. Cassidy, am I missing something on this component? I want to ask the participants, how do you feel when you were in the program? Would you feel unsafe at some point, or how was your reaction to see the police or everything around? I see Sophie or Rachel or whoever is here, or Henry.
I felt really safe the whole time. Very welcomed. Everybody in the town is super sweet. They do like say hi and ask you how you're doing. Buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Like, everybody's super sweet. Everybody's super nice. And yeah, I didn't have a problem at all.
One other thing is we have 5 non-negotiable rules. Any attempt to break out these rules, it will mean that the participant will be traveling to the United States in the next flight available. Rachel, Isis, Sophie, you guys remember what are those 5 non-negotiable rules?
No drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, we have a zero tolerance on that.
No sneaking out.
No leaving the homestay, no leaving the house, or no leaving the group without talking to one of us at all. Yeah. What else?
No, like, relationships, like no romantic relationships.
Yeah, there is a time and a place for everything, right? So this is not the place that you want to go and find your romantic partner. We are there to actually do work and connect with people and, you know, like, bring our culture and learn about each other. And we have 2 more, right? You guys remember what are those?
I think there's something about like being rude or mean to people.
We gotta no blatant disrespect to either other fellow participants, the homestays, or the staff, or any partner organizations that we work in Guatemala. And the last one, you guys did pretty good. I'm impressed, by the way, that you remember it still. The last one is knowing of a fellow participant that is breaking any of the other rules, that person will also will also go back to United States because we're going with the idea that we are our brothers and sisters keepers. If someone else putting themselves in danger, is putting everybody else in danger. All right. Thank you, Rachel, Sophie, and Isis for remember the rules. I wonder if there's any other questions from the parents or participants that are in the meeting here tonight that we can answer about this or anything else.
And also feel free to unmute yourselves as well.
Oh, one thing that I want to talk to, it is for medical situations, like if we need to see a doctor, one of the homestays is the doctor of the town. And that's the person that we will go first. So if someone is having a stomach issue, we actually follow the 36 hours rule. There is usually some diarrhea that happens when you travel abroad. We wait for 36 hours. At 36 hours, most of those adjustments might go away. And if they don't, at that point is when we start like looking for medical advice. We will contact the parent before we actually go there just to inform what is happening. And then Antigua, Guatemala, as I mentioned, as beautiful it is and cosmopolitan, also has very good quality hospitals. It has 5 private hospitals that we will use in case that we need to. I actually have been there. I have a surgery in there because I broke a bone at one time, and I can tell you that the treatment it was way better than going to a hospital here, in my opinion, at that point. But those are the hospitals that we use, and we do have the staff in Guatemala. They usually bring their car to the work teams, so that's kind of like our ambulance that will transport any person that needs medical attention if needed to those hospitals in there.
We also, our staff gets training on, like first aid, CPR, things like that. And then sometimes we've even had trip leaders who are medical professionals. Like I think we've had nurses on our trip before. So usually there is somebody who has medical training, a certificate, experience, and then obviously the doctor in the town who's also a homestay family.
And there is a question from Brigitte. I wonder if we answered it already. I quite not. Yeah. I see Jennifer nodding, so okay. Thank you, Brigitte. Any other question about anything? Finances, we will talk, is the next section, we promise. So finances, we will get there. But in anything that we have said, anything about this, also after the participant get accepted, there is a registration form when we ask about dietary restrictions, allergies, prescription medication that the participant might be taking. We will share that just with the people that need to be shared to. As an example, homestay families for allergies, maybe other trip leaders, but we will keep everything confidential. Just want to put out there.
Yeah, and on that note, if anyone has dietary restrictions or allergies that they might be concerned about, we always have students that have common food allergies and are vegetarian, vegan, can't take lactose or gluten, and we've never had a serious problem. The host families are really adaptable, and we let them know that all ahead of time. So that hasn't been an issue. But if there's a more specific question, we can also address that. And I also want to speak on COVID protocols a little bit. So when we first arrive in Guatemala, we stay all together at a private hostel, and this is a space where we can all get to know each other better. It's just us staying in the hostel. It's this beautiful building, and we do our social justice workshops there during those first 2 days. Those are, again, all led by the junior leaders, and at the end of those 2 days, we take a COVID test. So everybody will bring a COVID test with us and take a COVID test before we enter into our host families. That's just one of our precautionary measures. And we also recommend that everybody takes a COVID test prior to traveling in the 24 hours before traveling.
And I will add also, take care of yourself before traveling, because it's not fun if you get infected right before you leave and then you find out in Guatemala that you have COVID. You're going to be in isolation for 5 days, and I think that's something that you don't want to do. So take care of yourself before traveling. Don't avoid to go into larger crowds as much as possible. And we had that situation before, and it sucks for that participant to be, like in isolation for 4 days or 5 days. Anyway, speaking about the question about racial tensions, Guatemala, as any other place, I think it does suffer from some bigotry. I will say like the target is usually more geared to indigenous people in Guatemala in our case, so it's different than here. And Mayan women, indigenous Mayan women are the ones that suffer the most the impacts or bigotry and racial discrimination in Guatemala. I will say, like, coming from United States, the advantage, well, I don't know if it's an advantage, but like, because United States has been it's been like the big brother of the rest of Latin America. There is still that sense that people in Guatemala want to cater for us a lot of the times. And I'm saying this in good and also not that good way, because when we as the participants, like in your homestay, please try to help. But if you go and you talk to your host mom and say, like, can I help you? They immediately are gonna say, no, sit down, you're my guest here, and I'm gonna take care of yourself. So if you want to participate in the chores in the house, try to use a different method, and we encourage participants to say, like, can you teach me how do you do that? Or can you teach me how you cook? Or can you teach me how you do the washing your clothes by hand? And the host mom and the host family will immediately include you in those conversations as well. And so that's one of the things. But going to the question, it is so when they see a bunch of gringos walking, people is very nice to us, just because the 150 years of history between the United States and Guatemala as well. And I don't know, like, if Cassidy want to add something on this, but that's my impression, I think. And this is personal, by the way. It's not like I know everything in there.
Yeah, I will just say that we take this super seriously. So if we have ever gotten a complaint from one of our students about the host families, for example, we would take that very seriously and not continue working with the family. And we've worked with these host families for, as Mario said, 10 plus years. So they're really reputable families that have hosted students of all different backgrounds. So we feel really confident that they are safe spaces, but if anything were to happen, we take that really seriously.
Thank you for the questions.
Any other questions, or should we move on to cost and fundraising? Oh, Heather?
Oh, this was just really informative. It's fabulous presentation. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that there's questions about finances, so let's go there. There you go.
Let's go there.
Okay, so obviously the big question is, can I afford this? So for us, it's really important that this program is accessible and equitable for students. We want to make sure that if you want to do this program, that you can, and we're going to try and offer the best support that we can, try and connect you with the right individuals, or try and give you structured fundraising support or scholarships, and really try and make sure that this program is accessible if you would like to do it. Our program fees are determined by a sliding scale. So it's not based on grades, or they're not really merit-based scholarships. It's really based on the status of your family's income, household size, things like that. We're taking into account your family's financial picture and what is affordable and feasible. And that is how we determine scholarships. I'm gonna go next. So looking at our programs and financial aid, you can see that the cost of the program has such a great range because that's how much of scholarships we're willing to provide. So the cultural immersion, for example, the cost might be $248 at the maximum scholarship, or it could be the full price at $49.65. And so if you look on our website, I think on the next one, that has the breakouts. We have these scale breakouts on our website on each page for the cultural immersion, pro-justice leadership, or even the bundle. And this shows, where your income level falls in, what your estimated scholarship package would be, and then the estimated program cost with airfare. So as you look through this, you can kind of look and see, does this look affordable to me? Does it not? Are there extenuating circumstances in your family that may, prevent you from being able to afford this? And we want you to think about that and then include that in the application, because that's important to us. We want to know the full picture when we're assessing your financial situation for your family and making sure that this program, once again, is affordable and accessible for you. I know that when I was a young person, I had a program, not this one, but a similar one present in my class. And they had a program that was very expensive, and all I thought was, well, absolutely not. I can't go on that. I didn't have the means. My family couldn't afford that. So one thing I really, really have liked about this program is that we do provide scholarships to students, and that we do look at the family's full financial picture. And so I think it's really, really important that you let us know what's going on, so we can try and help you or assist you in any way, even if that means structured fundraising support, which we'll talk about in a minute, or if there are any other kinds of scholarships that we might be able to connect you to, we can also do that. We've partnered with a few organizations and scholarship funds the past year, and students have gotten a scholarship from us and then gotten 500, 1,000, 1,500 from these other scholarship programs that can either almost fully cover the cost of the program or get students close enough to where it really becomes very affordable for them. So outside of the scholarships that we provide, we also do fundraising for program fees. So our fundraising consists of selling items, which I'm going to talk about right here. And then we also do a letter campaign. So the letter campaign, we believe, is one of the most effective, and we do a fundraising workshop right after the orientation and acceptance into the program. And in this fundraising workshop, we talk about all of the different ways that you can fundraise and how to fundraise, which is really important. So we're going to teach you a little bit about like your sphere of influence, how you're going to go talk to somebody. Is it going to be, my aunt, my uncle, my teacher, anybody who you feel might, have an investment or want to see you thrive and succeed in this program and help you. We kind of talk about how you would go pitch that to them, how you might fundraise to them. And so students can fundraise lots of different ways. They have individuals giving maybe $10, $15, $50 towards their program fees, and it really adds up and changes the level of accessibility of the program for them. We also do item selling. So that's really a great way for somebody to get something in return for giving something to your program costs. So as a student, you would go and sell wreaths. We do for Christmas time and the holidays. It's not really connected necessarily to our program mission, but it is a great way to kind of kick off your fundraising after the program starts in November. And so we sell wreaths, and then we do coffee sales. The coffee is fair trade. It's from Guatemala. It's with our Guatemalan partners. And so that's a great way to kind of connect the story for your trip to the individual as you sell it. We also have Guatemalan cookbooks, and the cookbooks are something that we did in the pandemic, actually, where the families, our homestay families, contributed recipes, and we built this cookbook and published it, and it has beautiful handwritten notes. The cover was even designed by a student in Guatemala. So it's something that's really personable and touches to the organization and the story. And those are a great way to also help boost your fundraising. So if you just sell those items for the hard cost, and then the rest of it goes towards your program fees. In the fundraising workshop, we also work with you to create a fundraising plan. So if I sell this item for this much or this many items, then you can kind of see, here's how much I can fundraise. Here's my network. Here's how many people I think that I could connect with, and how many people I think would be willing to contribute to my plan in my fundraising program. So just thinking about that, fundraising for your program fees, we're going to help you think through all of those items. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about their experience fundraising, any items that they might have done.
Yeah, so I did mostly the letters to family and friends. So I hand wrote and sent out letters to, I think it was a little bit under 50 of just like people my parents know and like family members. And that was really successful for me. I think I fundraised about 80% of my trip's fee. And I also did a little bit of the coffee sales. And that was super easy because you just pick it up from the GV office and then you're able to drop it off to whoever bought it. And it's the coffee from Guatemala, so it's very tasty. But yeah, fundraising was very helpful for me. And
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, so we're nearing the end here. So the last piece is, how do I sign up? So you're already at step 1. Congratulations, attend an info night. This is recommended for everybody, so you have a fuller picture and for you to answer any questions that you have. And we'll stick around here for more questions as well. The next step is to submit an online application. It's on our website. And then also to submit an application deposit. This is a refundable deposit, so it'll go towards your program fees should you be accepted, and if not, it'll be refunded to you. And also submit your financial information. So if you're applying for financial aid, we also ask to see some tax forms just of proof of household income. And also share those additional details. As Jennifer said, we take accessibility really seriously. So if there's other factors that are affecting your household's financial situation, we want to know that as well. And there's a place for that on the application form as well to explain that in the form. And then finally, if you are applying for the cultural immersion or the bundle program, we ask that you schedule an interview either with a teacher at your school. There's a list of those names on our website under the scheduling your interview section. It'll tell you who at your school is conducting student interviews. If there's no one listed, one of our staff members will gladly conduct the interview, and it'll be on Zoom like this. So there's also a place on our website to schedule that interview with us. If you don't see an available time that works for you, because I think we're running low because we're so close to the deadline, please just reach out to us, send us an email at programs@globalvisionaries.org. I'll put that in the chat here in a second, and we can work with you to find another time to schedule that. But those are the steps to submit an application, and the deadline again is Monday, this coming Monday, October 30th. And acceptance will be on November 3rd.
I just wanted to add that I know a lot of students get stressed if they can't get all of the components in at the right moment. And so the interview, as Cassidy said, can be hard just if, time slots start filling up. So please go ahead and submit your application, even if you can't get an interview time scheduled, if you really want to apply, and we'll try and schedule that with you in between the application deadline and acceptance. I also see a question about how much the deposit is. So if you're applying for financial aid, it's $50. And if you are applying, or if you are not applying for financial aid, it's $250. And that's for the full cultural immersion program or the bundle program. And those deposits are refundable if you end up waitlisted. And if you are accepted into the program, then they go immediately towards your program fees and the rest of the program.
Thank you so much for coming. We'll stick around here for more questions. And if you have any questions for our amazing students, please ask away. Feel free to unmute yourself or throw them in the chat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Muchas gracias. Feliz noche.
Cassidy, there's a question in the chat.